A pretty big one that they're currently downloading for everyone in the background or so, and that's giving some troubles. But we are in game right now. We are on Ohana, and we have in the bottom right corner of the map the blue Terran player. It is PoYo. And his opponent is in the top left. It is none other than the green Protoss SCG SparxX.
Now, PVT is one of my favorite matchups, and it's at least in the top 9 of my favorite matchups. But the reason being is just because I think it's such a balanced map, a balanced matchup in the sense that they both have similar macro mechanics. The second you chuck Zerg, things start getting a little bit funky, but both Protoss and Terran have interesting ways of dealing with things, and I love the late game because you just have such an interesting dynamic with the Ghost and Viking composition of your late game army to tackle Colossi or High Templar, and it's something that too many people overlook, and it's really one of the key fundamentals as a Terran player is getting your late game composition correct to deal with what a Protoss is throwing at you.
Yeah, so that's also my favorite part of seeing the late game TVP. It's just the dance between the two armies, where they try to get in range of the other's spellcaster or important units without the enemy's killer units getting range, and that can be quite interesting, even if there's no actual fighting going on. Just the positioning and the movement of the armies back and forth can be just a pleasure to watch if you have two competent players doing it.
It's so incredibly complex though. Some of the positioning, especially Viking positioning, becomes just so critical. Trying to get it over dead space, just making sure that stalkers can't snipe it off, or you don't get any storms hitting down on your clumped up Vikings, and it's something that a lot of Terran players do struggle with, and that's why one of the critical moments of the matchup is that late game tech switch for Protoss, where it doesn't matter if you've gone for High Templar or Colossi first, but it's when you start producing the others. So in terms of strategy so far, PoYo going for the 1 Rax, 1 Gas. That's up against a fairly standard 1 Gate, 1 Gas, 1 Cyber for the moment out of SparxX, but both players I expect to take their natural bases relatively quickly.
On the other hand, we do see a factory coming up for PoYo, so he may be planning something of one base. He doesn't seem to be very eager to take his expansion just yet.
I was expecting, it's not what I was expecting to see that factory. I was thinking the PoYo just getting that 1 gas down was going to get either a react quite quickly or just something to make sure he was safe early on and then just take the expansion. But that factory definitely means, and now the 2nd gas as well, this is definitely going to be a 1 base tech style play, and SparxX has got to identify that quickly or he could have some problems.
Yeah, so I wonder if PoYo just wants to get things over with quickly. SparxX, I believe, is in the Diamond League, while PoYo, of course, is much higher. I'm not sure if he is in Grandmaster. Otherwise, he's just High Masters. But in any case, there's a little bit of a strength mismatch between the two, I believe. So PoYo may be thinking, well, I just want to get my games over quickly, not tire myself out too much with macro games, and just do all-ins. Of course, these earlier rounds are best of one, so it can be quite dangerous if you do an all-in. You have to pick one that is solid, not something that, when scouted, is easily thwarted, like something very quick cloak or so. Because if someone scouts that, then it usually means trouble. So you have to do something solid to make sure you're not getting knocked out within this best of one round.
Well, we've got SparxX, he's taking down his Nexus now, but the starport just finished up behind for PoYo. He's getting up the tech lab on that as well as the tech lab on the factory. So it's going to be a 1-1-1 play. We're going to be seeing Banshee. No cloak yet though. So just straight up Banshee for the time being. I'm wondering if he's most likely going to get a couple of tanks with the composition as well. And it's just generally a very strong composition. And SparxX, if he doesn't identify what's coming at him, is going to have a lot of problems.
SparxX just finished an observer in his robotics, so he is going to fly over and see what is going on. The question is, will it be on time for him to mount the proper response to it? In the meantime, there's an additional barracks coming up for PoYo, as well as a reactor on the first one, so he's going to crank out a ton of Marines to guard his Banshee and tank.
And as we see now, the first Banshee just coming out, going across the map, going to get spotted by the... No, it's not. The observer doesn't see it. And that is really unfortunate for SparxX, because that just means he's going to come straight through. But with the Zealot and Stalker at the Watchtower, then of course he will know what is going to be coming at him.
And SparxX is going for a very quick robotics base, so he may be going for some fast Colossus, which can be useful to hold this off, especially if you have so many unupgraded Marines against you. The question is, can he get already one, maybe two Colossi out before this push hits, and actually get some benefit from the big investment in the robotics bay tech?
Well, it'd be good if he could, because obviously if this push comes in too early, if too much damage is done, which for the moment it's not been able to, this Banshee, while it knocked out a Zealot and Stalker in the centre of the map, wasn't able to get in and deal any mineral line damage yet, but it's still poking and prodding, and SparxX just has to make sure that he is staying on his guard. But this Banshee's desperately trying to get a little bit of damage with the Stalker, pushing it back still.
Banshee is getting a good scout though. It's just flying around, really seeing what kind of units there are. And I think it saw the robotics. Yeah, it did see the robotics base. So PoYo knows exactly what his opponent is doing for a defense.
But here comes the big problem for SparxX. We've got the two tanks, the many Marines wandering their way across the map, the second Banshee coming across as well. Now, admittedly, the Observer has been able to scout all of this and knows precisely what's coming, but it's still going to be a very tough hold. And I will correct myself, it was the third Banshee on the way across, not the second. But SparxX, he's not got that much on the field. We're looking at 44 army supply to 22 for the Protoss. That just means that double the army, this is going to be a tough hold for SparxX.
And SparxX is evacuating the natural. I think that's a good call in this case. I mean, his opponent is also on one base, and if we look at the workers, he has 7 more. So if he holds this, then he will have the worker advantage.
And that
Colossus is out as well, but there's not much to buffer for it. Just some stalkers.
The first Colossus is out, but there's no range, and that causes a bit of a problem. Stim isn't done, but we do have siege mode, so that just means that these tanks now in a great position. This natural base almost certain to fall, and SparxX doing the right thing just by sacrificing that. But we've seen now PoYo chucking down the 2 bunkers behind this. He is just going to be in such a good position to really force his opponent to turtle.
SparxX went out to kill 1 bunker, did lose a stalker for that. He was supply blocked for a while. As PoYo destroyed one of his pylons, now he corrected that issue, but he's now bottled up inside his main, as PoYo is finishing up his first bunker with the tanks safely seated behind it.
Yep, those tanks are in such a good position. The Banshees also give vision of the high ground as well. The double observers are there just in case they choose to cloak, but with this vision, the Stalkers have to be so careful, and they're moving forward, but so much damage being done by those siege tanks at the moment, and PoYo just looking to really pick away at this force. But the second Colossus just about to pop out, but the reinforcements for PoYo are never ending.
And only now is extended thermal land starting, but then it's a bit too late if the Terran army is already knocking on your door.
And it looks like PoYo is going to be able to take out this force. SparxX pushing forward with those 2 Colossi, but unfortunately they both are now down. There's the scan. The observers will have been taken out as well, and SparxX just left with only 2 army supply in the form of that 1 lone stalker. There is no way he is going to be able to hold now, and PoYo will be victorious in the first game in what was a very nice 1-1-1 push. And generally, that's the sort of thing. It's a tough build to hold, so well done to SparxX for holding off so long against. And SparxX there in the chat with, this is the one build that I am bad against. So he's giving a shout out as well to his team Starcade. So yeah, big shout out to them, and well done to SparxX for holding on for the time being. And PoYo is going to advance to the next round.
And SparxX is saying that PoYo better win the tournament now, because of course there is no shame in losing to the person that eventually went on to